5:19 a.m. and we are about to get started. We're going to get started with some foam rolling this morning. As you can see, I have a kettlebell out. Do not worry, it is just for decorative purposes. I am still very much keen on stretching and taking my recovery slow and easy. So that is exactly what we're going to do. And in order to do that this morning, before I make my coffee and we have a little chat about exercise, nutrition, sleep, and relationships, we are going to do some foam rolling, and we're going to use this one for the bottom of our feet. So that's the program for this morning, and I can tell you this one is going to be very, very comfortable. I'm going to be foam rolling predominantly my legs. I'm just turning on a timer here. And after that, I'll do a couple of mobility stretches or mobility work, a little bit of mobility work. And then we're going to call it a day. We're going to move to the kitchen, make a cup of coffee, and get started with the day. It should take about 20 or 30 minutes in total, maybe. I don't know. But the first thing I'm going to do is I take the little bowl and I apply some pressure to the bottom of my feet. Now, when it comes to foam rolling, I have a lot to learn, and I'm doing it now in the morning instead of any of the training and exercise, but foam rolling is something I'm probably going to start doing in the evening as a way to relax before sleep. This just feels funky and funny. I have no other way of putting it. I'm also probably going to have to learn a bit more about how to do it properly, so if you have any suggestions or any ideas, you go ahead and you let me know. But in the meantime, here we are doing, as always, the best we can with the limited knowledge that we have. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because we're trying to fix my shoulder. And then you might be wondering, well, why are we then starting at the bottom of the foot? My right shoulder, the reason that it keeps giving me problems is because the shoulder blade is slightly out of position and it requires a bit more effort to get it into position. So what we're trying to do, or going to try to do over the course of the next 6 months to a year, is to work with my body, and in the course of working with my body, try to better align my shoulder blade and therefore the movement that it makes when I, for example, am snatching or pressing overhead, to prevent that agitation or irritation of the muscles and nerves there, as they compensate for the overhead movement. And the interesting thing about our bodies, you can put the bowl aside for a moment. The interesting thing about our bodies is that it's all very connected. Sorry about that noise that you're getting on the background. An unforeseen consequence of the foam rolling. But what we're going to try to do over time is loosen up the entire chain in order to allow the fascia, right, which are the bags of tissue that hold our muscles and other things, to allow them to change shape over time and to begin to work slightly differently. Well, this all sounds very exciting, but the only thing it means is that over the course of a year, I will be doing certain exercises and stretches that'll help me make more out of my body's full capacity and mobility. And it also goes to show that doing mobility exercises is one thing, but checking how we're moving and where there might be room for improvement is definitely, or should definitely be, a part of the process. Let's see, I think there's something to be said. Here you have those wonderful side planks paying off big time. Haha. So anyway, for those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old, and I am trained to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. Doing so by minding my sleep. I try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours in a day. Do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, which is around 2,200 calories. And I try to eat a lot of vegetables. Because there are a lot of good nutrients in vegetables, including a lot of fiber. They're quite high in volume, so they keep me full and satiated. And I try to hit my proteins for muscle and strength growth. Besides that, I try to spend time with people I love and care about. I try to do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. Now, the one thing to know about my channel is that this is about the way I feel, not necessarily about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me. Poor man's Jim, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Let me just go over and read your message. He's back. Hope you're healed up, Toby. I am doing better and better. It's been 2 weeks, and thankfully all of the stiffness and pain and soreness is gone. But I consulted with the physiotherapist. Physiologically and neurologically, to really recover or get back to status quo maybe takes about a year, right? So going to give it sufficient time to actually heal up and get better by taking it easy for another week, meaning just mobility, movement. Then I'll start adding body weight. Nothing too intense, no jumping, just the basic movements and reps. And then a month after that, so then it will be 2 months, give or take. We will see where we stand. And in the meantime, we're going to be working on weight maintenance and on mobility and on improving that motion and movement of the shoulder to the point where we can also train overhead, hopefully for the rest of our lives, injury-free. And I appreciate you dropping by and asking how I'm doing, and I hope you're doing well where you are in the world, and I hope life is treating you well. This is it Thursday? It's Thursday morning, isn't it? Yeah, thanks, man. What about you? How's life going? How's the training going? And what are you up to? Let's see. Grab that large muscle. The quadriceps. You know, this foam rolling stuff, it looks so easy, but it's a lot harder than they make it look on all those videos. Okay, and this one, ooh, I can also really feel. So like I was saying, this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for life. Ooh. It's actually starting to feel like a workout. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for life. And I'll explain to you why in a moment. There are a couple of different reasons for that. Sorry, this is proving to be a bit more difficult than I thought. But hey, there we go. So, why is this important to me? Making some huge strength gains. Man, that's incredible. Well done. That's that is impressive. Bench stronger. That's good. And is that because you're obviously the intensity of the workouts are paying off, but is it also because you're being mindful about your recovery and your nutrition? As in, are you making sure? You were talking about drinking a lot of milk the other day, so you're fueling for the output and also for the recovery, which is paying off, or is it really just the strength training and the intensity with which you're training that is paying off? I'd be curious to know. So the big two reasons that I'm working on this, first of all, we're all getting older. In my country, in the Netherlands, life expectancy is already settling around 86 years old, and when I was born 40 years ago, life expectancy was 79 or 70, 78. So we're getting more years in life. Isn't that nice? That is absolutely amazing. At the same time, we are not necessarily staying as capable and healthy as we could be through life. So this is the one you want to understand and keep in mind. It is likely that you're going to live longer, and it is likely that you're going to spend more of those years not feeling too bueno about life, because it's going to be riddled with disease and discomfort. Now, everyone needs to make decisions about life and about what they may or may not find acceptable and tolerable. But I have seen people at the end of their life who are spry, active, present, capable, and I have seen people in that final decade who are struggling and who are dependent and who want things but who cannot do the things that they want to do because they are physically incapable. So that's one thing too that I take into consideration. The other thing that I take into consideration is that regardless of doing everything right, everything can still go wrong, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a moment. So taking more days off, very good, very good. I think recovery is as much part of training as the training itself. Hacken Gains, thanks for dropping by and saying hi. And yes, that is an 8 kilo kettlebell, and it's going to be standing right there. And I like the kittens that you're sharing. Is that, man, you like cats? Because this isn't a cat video channel. But thanks for dropping by and saying hi. I appreciate that. And I'll give you the brief explanation. I injured my back 2 weeks ago, so I'm not actually lifting. Just putting the kettlebell there because the name of the channel is Kettlebell with your friend Toby. So it's decoration at this point. And in about a month, 6 weeks or a month, we'll get back to kettlebells again. And I appreciate you dropping by. And I hope you're well with your underworld strangulation recovery. Self is a good way to never grow. Like Menser was onto something. I'm a fan, and I'm curious what Mike Menser was onto. And Mel B, hey Mel B, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. I hope you're doing well, and I hope life is treating you well where you're at. We've been foam rolling for 18 minutes at this point, so I'm going to do one final pass of the quads. And then we're going to do some mobility work. Man, there would be more comfortable ways to do any of this. You would think, but I guess not. Let's see how my back responds to this abuse. It seems to be doing all right for the moment. So one reason, right? And like I said, you can do everything right and still everything can go wrong. Doesn't matter. You exercise 5 times a week, eat the right diet, sleep optimally, there is always still a chance that you will simply suffer a stroke, a heart attack, neurological deterioration, develop cancer, develop diabetes. There are no guarantees in life, but as I understand it, I can reduce the risk of any of that happening to me significantly through the lifestyle choices that I make, with the added upside of staying spry and capable and active throughout my life, not even talking about the direct benefits day to day of leading an active and healthy lifestyle. So that's one. Mel B, I've already said, I hope you're well where you are in the world, and I hope you're having a good start or end of the day. It was bodybuilding, but it applies to everything. And is cool. Are they like strongmen or bodybuilders? I'm not familiar with the names, although I think you mentioned Mike Menser before, and I think I've seen that name come by somewhere in my YouTube stream or feed. All right, I'm going to do a couple of minutes of mobility before I make my coffee. Let's see. Let's do the walkout first. Let's just start at the top of the routine and see where it brings us today. So the second reason that I find this important is that I am the father of two, and I would like to be an active part of my children's life now and in the future. I would also like to set a good example for them of what an active lifestyle is and what they can achieve by simply being mindful of their health and fitness. Breathing in, breathing out. So those are the two big drivers for me. If I'm going to be 86-year-old, I would like to be active and capable, and I would like to set a good example for my children today and in the future, so that they understand how important health and fitness is in general to make the most of life, because it is just useful to have a body and brain that are functioning well to get through and to get on with life. So here we are. So when I say this is not about the way I look, this is about the way I feel, that is what I'm getting at. Now, the way I'm approaching this, bodybuilding, yeah, cool. Oh, you seem to have been reading up quite significantly on this, and judging by your progress, it's also paying off. So good on you, and thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. And I'll have to look into, I guess, Mike Menser and see if there's anything there for me. All right. Arm shake. Now, generally, when it comes to staying fit and healthy, we are going to experience some challenges. We're going to experience some challenges because, and this is important to realize, because society isn't geared towards keeping our bodies fit and healthy, i.e., we have to exert a lot of effort every day to fight the cycle of daily living that society has developed, what we call daily life, in order to stay fit and healthy. And I know that sounds strange, but I want you to think about the daily routine of most people. The people who keep the economy going, the people who make sure everything works. Stores are stocked, shelves are filled, care is given. And provided. Traffic, infrastructure, railways, airports, harbors. Think about how the world works for a moment, and then realize that very few of those people live Instagrammable lives, right? So when we look at health and fitness for the general population, not for the lucky few, and I don't think I belong to the lucky few, but I have a lifestyle where I work between 9 and 5. I don't work night shifts or evening shifts or interrupted shifts or ridiculously long days because the job demands it. I think you begin to see that it is not easy for everyone to stay lean, fit, healthy, active, connected to their friends simply because of the demands that life is putting on them. Okay? So, for 90% of the population, so not the 5% that can do whatever they want, and not 5% that for whatever reasons cannot do whatever they want. For everyone else, we need better answers. And you look at the demands of life, the demands life puts on us. In this situation, you'll begin to see why this actually is an issue. We sleep, but before we go to sleep, we're either out with friends, caring for our children, or tending to other things that need to happen to keep the household running. And then we are watching shows, being distracted on Netflix, or Prime, or HBO Max, or YouTube, or even worse, we are scrolling before bed, overstimulating ourselves. We don't sleep enough. Sleep deprivation is a real problem because we think we don't need it, but we actually do. So we don't get enough sleep. We wake up. We eat something that is provided. If we're not mindful, if we are not aware, or if we simply cannot afford something that is healthy, nutritious, and wholesome. And when I say we cannot afford, I'm not just talking about money. We're also talking about time, because it takes me 20 to 30 minutes to prepare the oatmeal that me and the family eat. And you need to have 20 to 30 minutes to prepare that, on top of being able to buy the ingredients that overall make that a part of a healthy breakfast, right? Do breakfast, do some protein, some carbs, and some fats mixed in. Sometimes might add a little bit of vegetables in the morning, cucumbers, tomatoes, carrots, something a bit crunchy, sweetish or neutral, just to have a good start of the day. But do you have 30 minutes, right? Do you have the ability to stock up on those items in your fridge? The same goes for lunch and dinner. Anyway, we rush off to work. We have the commute. We sit for breakfast. We sit for the commute. We get to the office. We have coffee. I drink most of my coffee black, except for that first one in the morning that we're about to start making. But sometimes we add milk or other things to it. And generally we don't just have one, but we might have 2 or 3 of those. That is easily another 300 to 450 calories in a day. But because we're tired and working hard, because it's a part of our routine, we don't consider that. Then we sit some more, we sit down for lunch, maybe we take the stairs once, we walk around the block once, so we get like 3 minutes of activity, and throughout the day we sit some more, commute back, eat dinner, which could be freshly made, freshly chopped salad, protein, whether it's tofu, chicken, beef, anything else, drink with that. And we sit while we're eating, and then after that we sit, because that cycle that started the day before continues. That is a lot of sitting, and that is a lot of consuming while not being active. And all of the time that we spend working and commuting is not time that we can invest in being healthy and moving, in being active, in trying to use our bodies the way we are intended to use our bodies. So we start to lose out on sleep, we're not eating properly, we're not moving sufficiently, and we don't have sufficient time and energy, right, to invest in the people we love and care about. I was catching up with a old friend and colleague yesterday. I hadn't spoken in years because of different geographical locations. And he was telling me, demanding job, work, everything that needs to get done. And then by the end of the day, when the kids are fed and sleeping, you sit down on the couch. And as much as you might want to, because everyone is tired and irritated, these are not the quality family moments that we would want to have. So when I say that society is not structured in a way that allows us to live healthy, fulfilling lives, it are these things that we need to consider when we're talking about health and fitness overall. All right, we're going to try downward facing dog. Let's see how my back responds to this. Ooh. All right. Let's do a little bit of hip mobility, and then we're going to make some coffee. Poor man's gym. Good catching up with you as well. I appreciate that, and keep up the training. I enjoy your streams, seeing how you're progressing and learning about health and fitness and growing strong. Just keep up the good work. Keep showing up and doing the work. So hey, the challenges we face when it comes to health and fitness are significant. Let me break them down into 4 main quadrants, right? It is the quality and quantity of our sleep. And I think the rule is prioritize quality over quantity, even though quality plus quantity is king. The quantity and quality of our nutrition. And in this case, prioritize quantity over quality for nutrition. So eat within your body's capabilities rather than, let's see if we can pull this off. Yes, we can. Specifically within your body's energy balance, because weight maintenance is easier than weight loss, but weight gain is easier than weight maintenance, meaning that weight loss is definitely more difficult than weight gain. All right, and that comes down to food. And once we've figured out that quantity question and the energy balance, we can start to focus on the quality question. So what types of food do we want to put into that mix in order to be as healthy and fit as we can possibly be? And I know I've been making some different choices recently, and to be very honest, they are paying off, even though it is a different experience, eating a lot more plant-based protein and a lot less animal protein, but in a very good and pleasant way. All right. Hey, look at this. And of course the deep sit without the kettlebell. What is my life all about? Josh Collins, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Well, my life is going to be about the cup of coffee that I'm going to make myself. But in general, I live stream my morning routine, my morning workout. And at the moment, because I'm recovering from a back injury, that means a lot of mobility and light exercise, as well as trying to fix my shoulder with some foam rolling. And over time, we will get back to the regular exercise routine, which was kettlebells Monday, Wednesday, Friday, mobility Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and a run on Sunday. But since people seem to be enjoying my live streams where I'm chatting from my kitchen, maybe that will become a regular part of the stream. So, let's see what the future holds. And while we work out and make coffee and chat, I talk about general health and fitness, and how I'm approaching that for life and longevity. So I hope that that helps. I'm going to twist and turn the camera up slightly. There we go. And now we get a slight view of the house here. And there's the kitchen. Wow. And let me move the laptop over so I can monitor the chat. And we're good to go. So yeah, that's what the stream's about. That's what this is about. I hope that's a clear enough answer. So even that was 15 minutes of 15 minutes of, 15% of my daily activity by doing mobility for about 45 minutes. Very low intensity, but a nice workout nonetheless. In any case, friend, let me just move this over. Maybe that's better. I think that's better. Don't you think that's better? I'm going to make a cup of coffee and let's keep chatting about health and fitness. Because I think there are so many different topics that we can talk about, right? And I already covered some of the challenges that we might face in today's society in trying to stay fit and healthy. But there are 4 things that if we can, and if we understand the premise of what being healthy and fit actually means, we can lean into and try to make the most of for ourselves. Right? And those 4 things are sleep, like I said, quality and quantity, nutrition, quantity and quality, movement, not even exercise, simply movement. We sit so much, all right? We sit so much. I think this is really one of those things that we don't even realize how abnormal that actually is. So I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment. But we sit so much that it is damaging our bodies and our minds. Okay? Our bodies physically respond really well to activity and action. If you think about training and lifting, for example, and you think about what that brings us as people, as human beings, it brings us a certain stimulus that forces us to adapt. All right? While we're waiting for that to finish, I will make breakfast for the kids as well. So we know that our body actually is very capable and able to adapt to stimulus from the environment. If you take the stimulus away, our body being the efficient tool that it is, then says, well, doesn't seem like I need to be capable of anything. Literally, this is what happens. Yeah. So why would I adapt to anything? Why would I grow stronger? I can simply sit here, have all the food I want. My mind is entertained and distracted. I don't have to give it any second thought. I don't have to worry about food next winter. I don't have to worry about my health too much because there are medicines available. I can just take them and my body will respond differently. It won't necessarily get better or stronger over time, but it will deal with the disease or illness. And I can go through life like that. No problem. But that's not what we were made for. Right? Our bodies were made to move us around, to help us find food, to build shelter, to mate, to band together, to socialize, to explore. Those are all things that we physically are capable of doing, any one of us. The main thing here is that we have stopped using our body to actually do those things and do them well. So when we talk about movement, right, sleep, nutrition, movement, it's not just exercise, it's just what we get up and do every day. And it doesn't mean we need to get up and run a marathon every day or lift the heaviest weight possible every day. But it means that over the course of the day, we really need to evaluate what kinds of activities we employ, because the less active we are throughout the day, the less capable we become over time, all right? We can recoup certain things over time, but like I always say, deterioration is inevitable, especially beyond our 30th year in life. Up until 25, we tend to grow stronger and better. We stabilize for a bit maybe, and then it starts to deteriorate. So at 41, you can imagine this is top of mind for me, because I've got at least 45 years on the clock. I'm not even halfway, right? Um, so being active and then exercise as a supplement to activity to create that overstimulus to improve my body's ability to perform and function over time. It's very functional, right? I want to be able to squat, deadlift, press, pull, push, at least my body weight, my load, once, so that I am capable of doing that when necessary. I want to be able to sprint. I have no illusions about speed and the relationship between age and speed, as in there is a much more likelihood of me getting closer to strength records than there is to speed records, because strength seems to stay relatively stable over lifespan, whereas speed really disappears unless we maintain some of that. And even while we're maintaining it, there's no contest between a 20-year-old and a 50-year-old who are both very fit, but the 20-year-old definitely in their prime. But maintaining certain levels of speed for life, I think, is very valuable. That's why once a week I would go out and do sprints, and once a week I go out and do a longer term endurance run. And I'm now looking into how I can mix that up better, mix that in with walks that I intend to do over time as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And then there's the socializing aspect of this, right? There is the aspect of, well, what gives my life meaning? When I talk about relationships, I talk about my direct family, my friends, and then the communities that I'm a part of, my colleagues, the neighborhood I live in, the school that my son goes to, the sports club that I might be a part of, any other societies or clubs that I might join, this community that we have here of people who drop in and watch my channel and my streams. Those are all aspects of a healthy and fulfilling life, because we need social connection to thrive. We need social connection to do well in life. I know some people say, well, I do just fine on my own. I believe you. I think there are people, I can also be alone really well, but people who tend to live to be 115 find meaning in their social connections and contributions, as well as all of the other healthy lifestyle factors they have. So there's something to be said about being a part of communities, being contributing and getting worth and feeling like a valuable part of a community for our health and longevity, also mentally. That's tasty. And I'm happy with the switch up in routine where we do the workout first and the coffee after, wouldn't you say? So hey friends, if there aren't any questions, if that's all we have to talk about today, then I am going to take my coffee and we're going to record a couple of shorts so that I have something to put out that is useful for all of you to watch as well. Thanks for dropping by. Like I always say, My name's Toby. I'm 41 years old. I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. Try to eat a lot of vegetables and greens. By the way, my energy balance is around 2200 calories, where I'm at the moment. And I try to hit my protein goals for strength and muscle growth, even though there's a bit of a discussion about what's good for longevity versus what's good for short-term muscle growth. But more on that in the future. I try to show up every day to do some sort of workout, mobility, strength conditioning, endurance, sprints. I try to spend time with people I love and care about, try to do things that I enjoy, and generally try to live a stress-free life. This is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. If you find any of that interesting, you go ahead, check out my channel, subscribe, and we can continue the conversation. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today. It's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. And the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow on my channel. Take care. And remember, friends, subscribe.